Hey, what's up guys? This is your boy JD, and today in this video I'm going to be breaking down tonight's NBA DFS slate. It is currently Wednesday at about 6 a.m., so it's pretty early, but I wanted to get a head start on this, and with that, let's get into the injuries. So as we know, Giannis did not play on Monday against the Clippers as he was ruled out after shoot-around with his Achilles injury. He's listed as questionable tonight. Embiid is still out. Anthony Davis is probable for tonight's game. LeBron is questionable, but he's been playing through the injuries. Donovan Mitchell will be out tonight's game against Atlanta. Tyrese Maxey is still out with a concussion. Lauri Markkanen is out against the Bulls tonight. Evan Mobley sustained an injury last night. He is going to be out for an extended period of time. Jaren Jackson is questionable after missing at least last game. Jeremy Grant is questionable, and he missed his last game. Brogdon is still out for Portland. DeAndre Ayton is doubtful for tonight's game. Keontae George is questionable with an illness. He did leave early last game. Middleton remains out for the Bucks. Okongwu is still out for Atlanta. Max Strus was ruled out last night, but we will see if he is in play today. So he's not officially out yet. Marvin Bagley is out. Scoot Henderson is out. Taylor Hendricks is out for the Jazz. Westbrook is still out. Kessler is still out. Tumani had an illness, missed last game. He is questionable. D'Anthony Melton is unsure when he will return. Zaire Williams is out with a hip flexor. Scottie Pippen Jr. remains out. Gary Harris is questionable. Jay Crowder is probable. Matisse Thybulle is questionable for the Portland Trailblazers. Torrey Craig is doubtful. And Derrick Rose is still out. Brandon Clark is still out. Jonathan Isaac is questionable. Yeah, those are the injuries. Ton of injury news. The other thing with tonight is we have a 6 o'clock start, but we have three late games at 9 p.m. or later, with Chicago's game at 8. So there will be a ton of injury news probably coming out after lock. Luckily, there is late swap, so we'll have to keep paying attention for injury news to try and build the best lineup as possible throughout the night. That being said, we can move into our first game, which is Orlando and Washington. Orlando did play last night, so they are on a back-to-back. And Washington is coming off their... Washington is coming off loss to Utah. Still, I believe they're still on their 15-game losing streak. So, and tonight, this matchup against Orlando doesn't get any better. Out of this game for the Magic, Banchero 8,600, Franz Wagner 7,400, Wendell Carter Jr. 5,400. It seems way too cheap for them, especially given the matchup against the Wizards, who are one of the worst teams in the league. Excuse me. As I said, one of the worst teams in the league. Have the worst defensive rating, or one of the worst defensive ratings as a team this season. And I don't know if a lot of people are going to go to Orlando tonight, considering they're Orlando, and even it is Washington, so I mean they give up fantasy points in bunches, so I think Orlando has a decent chance to maybe go under owned in this spot. Oh my gosh. To go under owned in this spot because, they're not the typical team that you would think to, play a couple players from unless there's injuries out. And there's probably more important games on the slate that people are going to try and target. And I think this is one that people might shy away from just because it's Orlando. For Washington, their prices are kind of priced up in this matchup against oh my gosh. They're priced up higher than I would like. Obviously the matchup's not great considering Orlando's one of the better defensive teams. Bagley's ruled out, so they're gonna struggle defending the paint. Could play Rashawn Holmes, but he only played 9 minutes last game, so I think they're gonna go small with Kuzma at the 5, which if they do that, allows them to bring another rotational player in, and I think Kispert picks up a few of those minutes. I think Shamet picks up some of those minutes. Poole obviously will pick up a couple of those minutes. But yeah, I think this game goes small and it's a little bit of a down and back game. That's kind of how I see it. If I'm gonna rank my top 3 Magic players, I'll go Banchero, Carter Jr., and then Wagner. And for Orlando or for Washington, it would be Kuzma, Avdia, and probably Tyus Jones. That would be my top 3 for Washington. Move on to Cleveland and Atlanta. Atlanta is without Trae Young still and Okongwu. For Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley are out. Max Strus says he's out, but he had just missed the previous game. Cleveland is on a back-to-back. So, let me see. Did they travel to? Were they in Boston last night? No. Doesn't have the game up yet. I believe that either way, they were on a back-to-back, so this game could potentially get out of hand. You never know. Atlanta has... Oh my gosh. Excuse me. Atlanta did... They won their previous game... Or no, they lost against Brooklyn in their previous game. This should probably... Atlanta has been one of the worst defensive teams recently. And with Mobley out for Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell out, I think this game gets a little fast, but also I think might be more competitive than we might expect. Just with those couple stars out, it might keep the game closer, and which closer games are usually better for fantasy as it is. 9,500 for DeJounte Murray seems really high, as well as 7,900 for Jalen Johnson. But with Evan Mobley out, he should be able to succeed tonight, but I'm not sure that he outplays his price tag. Quite frankly, there really isn't many people in this game that I think can do that other than Jared Allen, just because Evan Mobley's gone. Sam Merrill is 4,800. Played 29 minutes last night. Um, but if Strus is still out, then I think you can play him. But if he's in, then I won't play him probably. Okoro is someone I would play. He doesn't have a high usage, which is hard, but he fills in many areas. So he's someone that I might look to. Dean Wade obviously was the hero from last night, scoring, I think, 20 points in the fourth quarter. Just unheard of to win against Boston. So I would look at him. He's a cheapie today. And Atlanta can struggle in the paint, even though he doesn't necessarily play in the paint. If he's, he might pick up some rebounds close to the basket along with the threes that he shoots. So with that, my top 3 players for Cleveland would be Jared Allen, number 1. Number 2, probably Dean Wade because of the price. And number 3, Isaac Okoro. Actually, yeah, we'll go Okoro. He has a better salary. And for Atlanta, number 1 would be probably Jalen Johnson. Number 2 would be DeJounte. And number 3 would be probably DeAndre Hunter. That would be my top 3 for that game. Third game is Memphis at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is on a back-to-back and played last night. Memphis played Monday and should be on full rest. Jaren Jackson Jr. is still questionable, so that is a big injury for them that they're dealing with, as well as they are without Zaire Williams. Scottie Pippen, Derrick Rose, Brandon Clark, Yuta Watanabe, and the regular cast. Philadelphia, without Embiid still, Tyrese Maxey still out, D'Anthony Melton's still out. So this game doesn't really interest me from a fantasy perspective, just because Philly's on a back-to-back. Memphis is not a great offensive team. With Embiid and Maxey out, Philadelphia isn't as great as an offense, and honestly, I'm not sure this game goes over, a 215 total. I'm not even sure each team scores 100 points, but I think it'll be close to that. If we look at these prices, 7,800 for Tobias Harris is a lot. His usage rate is up, obviously, with Maxey out. Someone has to be taking the shots, handling the ball. So his price is up there. Vince Williams Jr., 7,000, I think is way too expensive. Kyle Lowry at 5,900. Maybe. He does everything in different areas, but to outscore at 5,900, he would need to do a lot, and this matchup doesn't necessarily provide that. How many minutes Paul Reed get? 28. Maybe Paul Reed. Memphis does struggle in the paint. That's kind of the only person that I would look to is Paul Reed in this matchup, as, awful as it sounds. If I were to rank Philadelphia players, Tobias Harris number 1, Paul Reed number 2, Kyle Lowry number 3. Memphis, I'm just completely off of tonight, but if I'm going to rank them, 1 would be probably Luke Kennard. 2, I guess depends on if Jackson's in. If Jackson's in, then probably Jaren Jackson Jr. would be number one. If he's not in, Kennard would be one. Two would be Vince Williams Jr. And three would probably be Conchar. He's $4,700. He just does everything all over the place. And they're going to need just people on the court, and I think he'll be on the court, so I don't hate him tonight. But he is a low usage player, so I wouldn't necessarily go to him. He would be more like a salary filler, like a late option if you need a guy. So I wouldn't prioritize him though. So with that, we'll move on to the Clippers in Houston. Houston is coming off a back-to-back where they defeated San Antonio last night at home. Şengün had an amazing game, 45 points. I think 80 DK points overall, which is massive for Houston. Clippers are coming off a tough loss to Milwaukee on Monday, where they completely collapsed defensively. For this game, Houston, obviously on the back-to-back, I think 8K for Şengün is too cheap. Jalen Green at 6,900 is expensive, but I don't mind that price. No, I do mind it. It's too much. But if I was choosing someone, he would be one of the people I'd probably go to. I wish they give Cam Whitmore more minutes. I mean, they're so inconsistent, but he's a scorer, and they need his scoring. So he's an option, but I wish he was more like 4,200 or something like that. But for the Clippers, 88 for James. Now, granted, this is a revenge game for James coming back to Houston. So I think that part he can go off tonight. He might get a little bit more usage, might get more touches just because of his previous play here. So he's on my radar for tournaments. Zubac's at 5,500. He only played 24 minutes in the last game. But with Houston, I think they are going to be big with Şengün, so they are going to need him on the court. They have Tice, but he's not a great... he's probably a better defender than Zubac, but I don't think he necessarily fits their style of play as much. And he's just a bigger body than Tice. So I like Zubac tonight. That's kind of it. The prices are, priced well. So for the Clippers, number 1, James Harden. Number 2, Zubac. Number 3, if I had to choose someone, probably Kawhi. He probably has the easier matchup against Jabari Smith Jr. For Houston, Şengün number 1, number 2, Jalen Green, number 3, Cam Whitmore. I think Van Vliet, it's so hard with him. He's $7,500. His play is so erratic, as in his usage. His usage seems to be going up a little bit more here. 20 or more in 4 of his last 5 games. I'm not sure how many he had last night against San Antonio, but his scoring has gone up a bit. So that's something to keep on the radar. So that move into Chicago and Utah. Chicago is coming off a massive win in Sacramento on Monday night, while Utah beat Washington Monday night as well. Markkanen is still out for Utah. Keontae George has an illness, is questionable. Hendricks and Kessler are out. And when those people all got, ruled out during the game, before the game, they pretty much just played Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, and who was the other person? Was it John Collins? Maybe it was. They played them like, each 35 minutes. And so it was kind of insane, but those are the guys they need to score. And so I'm expecting them to be more the ball handlers tonight again and get those minutes. Vooch, great play tonight. They have no one that's going to be able to defend the paint. Even Drummond, when Drummond comes in, I like him tonight. DeRozan and White. I mean, pretty much any of these Chicago players are in play tonight. Yeah, Dosunmu at 6K, that kind of seems a lot for him, but like, look at the minutes he's playing. He might not pay off the salary. Kobe White, 56 in his last game. I'm pretty sure I wrote him up the last time, or in this game. This is another good matchup for him. For Utah, it's, John Collins, Jordan Clarkson, and Kobe White. That's really it. Those are my three people here. So, yeah, Colin Sexton, John Collins, and Jordan Clarkson. And they all have, decent prices. I mean, their prices went up from last game, but they are going to be the main ball handlers on this team. So, for Chicago, number 1, I think Vooch, got to play him. Number 2, White. Number 3 would be DeRozan. So, with that, move on to OKC at Portland. Portland is dealing with a rash of injuries. Brogdon and Henderson are still out. DeAndre Ayton is doubtful, and Jeremy Grant and Toumani Camara are questionable, as well as Matisse Thybulle. For OKC, they don't have any injuries other than their backup center, Jalen Williams, not the power forward one. And so Oklahoma City is coming off a loss on Monday night against the Lakers, where Portland had a close game with the Timberwolves and battled the entire game for that. In this matchup, without Ayton, if Ayton is ruled out, he is doubtful. Chet has received a price decrease from 8K to 7K or 7.6, so I don't hate him tonight. I wish he got more rebounds, but I mean, I understand how skinny he is, and being in the paint is not his strong suit, going up against the bigs, but I think that will develop, more as the years come along. Shea at 10-7 is a great bounce back spot. First game, he had hit over 30 real points in, I think, over 8 games. So I don't mind him tonight. Reith played 39 minutes, put up 36 fantasy points, and is only 5,600 tonight. Anthony Simons balled out last game, playing 43 minutes, 63 fantasy points. He's on my radar for tournaments tonight. Josh Giddey played 29 minutes last game. I mean, he's 5,100. I think he's definitely a decent play tonight. I know his minutes have been getting cut short, but If the game is ahead and he's been playing defense better, then I think they have to keep him on the court. The other part with Giddey is they take him off for his defense because he's not great, but at the same time, they don't have really anyone on their bench that is a offensive minded backup, you know. And I say this because if you look at their bench players, you got Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Gordon Hayward, Aaron Wiggins, Jang, all these people. Joe is a shooter, but he's not like a ball handler. Gordon Hayward is a forward, but he's not, getting that minutes. He's not playing point forward, not handling the ball and initiating offense. Cason Wallace is there for defense. So, I don't understand why they don't rotationalize him into, hey, play, first 5 minutes of the first quarter and then bring him back in to help stabilize the second unit, from 2 minutes to, 7 minutes again, and then have him come back, with 4.5 or 3 minutes to play, just to get around it. I think they utilize Shea so often, and Chet and Jalen. I think Giddey could really help make their offense explode a touch more, if they use him in the right way. I think this is one of my favorite stacking games of the night. If I'm going to try and play players from both sides. For Portland, my top three would be Simons number one, Reith number two if Ayton and Grant are ruled out. If just Ayton is ruled out, my number two for Portland would then go to probably Jeremy Grant playing against OKC, which is a former team of his. And then number three for Portland would probably be Reith then. And then for OKC, one, Shea. Number two would be Jalen Williams. And then number three would be Giddey. With that, we'll move on to Milwaukee Golden State. Oops. Here we go. Milwaukee, massive win on Monday over the Clippers with Giannis out of the lineup. Couldn't give it a go before the game and ended up sitting out. Today, he's still questionable, but they are playing the Warriors, so hopefully he's able to give it a go tonight. Otherwise, probably be the Dame show again, as we saw Monday. Middleton remains out for Milwaukee, and then Jay Crowder is questionable. For the Warriors, they are actually healthy for once, and I expect them to be ready to go for this game. Obviously, on Sunday, we saw how they got blown out by Boston. So, Curry at 9K, I think, is a very interesting tournament play. Milwaukee struggles against scoring guards, especially point guards. And this could be a huge matchup issue for them unless they're able to rein it in. Bobby Portis finally got price increase, but he's only $6,200. He's been playing massive for this team. Klay Thompson at 6K is interesting. Pajemski's back. Lopez, Paul. I mean, all of these are pretty kind of palatable prices. So I'm curious. For the Bucks, it kind of just depends on if Giannis is in. If Giannis is in, I think you play him, Portis, and probably Lillard, or not Lillard, but if he's in Giannis, Portis, and maybe that's it. But if he's out, I think you can play Portis, Lillard, um, and Pat Bev at that point. With Golden State, I think it's Curry. I think Draymond's in play at 6'2", especially if Giannis is out. I think Draymond's in play either way, but I think Draymond's more in play if Giannis is out. And that's kind of it. It's really just kind of Curry and Draymond for me. And then if Giannis is in, him and Portis, or Lillard and Portis. It's going to be a back and forth game, and I think it'll be a good one. Obviously, if Giannis is out, Lillard should be at all costs, but I don't think in this game, if Giannis is in, I don't think he necessarily pays off his price tag at 9,200. So with that, we'll move on to the last game of the night, which is Sacramento at the Lakers. The Lakers have a win under the belt against OKC, the top team in the league, and now face a struggling Sacramento team. This is an important game for both of these teams. Both of these teams are pretty healthy. Sacramento has been struggling a lot lately. Sabonis in the middle, big contributor, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk. Those are the three main guys. Keegan Murray's gotten a price bump as he has been low 5K range, but he's been playing massive minutes. Not that he has been doing a ton with them, but he is viable. Lakers, it's Davis, James, Russell, and Reeves. That's the show. Hachimura following suit. Only played 22 minutes last game. That's very interesting for him. He has played that low of minutes since the beginning of February. So I'm not sure if it was just a matchup issue or they went a little bit smaller. But I think he plays mid-30s minutes again tonight, and I like him as a different option from this game. If I were to rank these players, Sabonis would be number 1, number 2 would be Fox, number 3 would be Monk. He is facing former Laker team that he played against. For the Lakers, LeBron number 1, number 2 would probably be D'Lo, and number 3 would be Davis. So yeah, that's kind of a small preview for tonight's NBA DFS slate. Obviously, it's pretty early in the morning, so there will be more news that'll come throughout the day. If you enjoyed watching the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. And with that, thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of your day.